reading, stop me and make your observation, okay? Don't just let me go. Don't be embarrassed. Just raise your hand and say, I've got something here that's kind of interesting, okay? Can you draw out Leviathan with a fish hook or press down his tongue with the cord? Now, I immediately stop right there. A fish hook? You know, I don't know. And you guys go deep sea fishing? What sort of hooks do you use?
Huge ones.
Huge. Like?
Yes, big. Yeah, big ones.
There's no telling what they were using. It might have been bigger than that even.
Yeah.
So I want you to think of fish hook not in the typical, little, reel. Because you're going to be slung overboard and eaten up by this thing. Or press down its tongue, okay? Can you put a rope in his nose or pierce his jaw with a hook? Yes.
When I put that whole part together, I kept thinking, can you capture him with these things? A mere fish hook, a mere rope. It was not, and it wasn't even worth mentioning that you can capture. So the word capture came out in that whole part.
Yeah, yeah. Just essentially the tools of the trade are being utilized here, right? Yes, Mary.
I kind of see it as Satan coming out when he said, I'm going to sin and I'm going to be above God. And he's trying to say, even though I'm wicked and evil, I'm going to be like God and I'm going to do these things. And God say, no,
Yeah.
no, you're not.
That's interesting. Now, you guys know me now. I know I'm going to ask you to suspend Christian understandings. I know that that's there, Mary, but what we tend to do is project back my Christian perspective on a situation, and what I fail to do is to see it from their perspective. It's not that it's not there, because even as Jesse said, later on in the book of Revelation, and maybe even sooner because there are other references to Leviathan, we're going to see the dragon, we're going to see the serpent, we're going to see that old slewfoot character showing up again to becoming sort of a noun that's involved in all of these sort of things. And so Leviathan, I'll just give you a hint here. Leviathan is a term that's been used not only of this particular creature, but of anything huge in the water. Later on, it just becomes, a whale, Leviathan. Why? Because it's huge. Okay, so yeah, it's there, but I'm asking you to hold it. Wait. All right. Will he make many pleas with you? Will he speak to you in soft words? Will he make covenant with you and take him and with you to take him for your servant forever? Is he going to go ahead, David? Yes, I was just going to jump right in there. I need to hold back, boy. Go for it, David.
And speaking of this and being in the Old Testament, I was thinking back in terms of what God intended and Adam naming the animals. At some point in time, there was the Dr. Dolittle thing. Humans and animals communicate somehow, some way. But this idea of, will he speak to you? Will you take him as his servant? And jump forward to James where it says, every type of beast has been tamed. Well, I don't know how long ago somebody said, I think I'll be a lion tamer. I think I'll train this killer whale to jump through this. All this kind of thing, but this is talking about a creature that apparently, if it is just a creature, is its own thing, and mankind has no part of it. But talk about fish hooks. Think about what it takes to get a sailfish or a shark. They don't have the guy holding the thing; they have the rod into a stanchion because you cannot hold it once the thing gets on the hook. So forget about it.
Yeah, and then you're sort of tied down too, right?
You are in a seat with a seatbelt around you and guys there to help you.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Anything else there? Okay, all right. I mean, are you going to make this thing? What? And of course, the question is rhetorical. No. It's like what you're saying, Margie. You're not going to make this beast, but I'm going to ask you anyway.
The word that came when I was reading that part was interaction. Are you going to interact with this person and be a part of what he's done? Are you going to engage and be Those were Christians.
Yeah, Puff the Magic Dragon. Yes, Claire.
So the answer is no.
No. Absolutely not. That's why.
I know who can. No, I can't fight Leviathon, but I know who can.
Yeah, and we learn truly at the end, and other references to Leviathan, who can definitely, the one who creates the thing can tame the thing. Not just one who says, I'm going to tame the thing, because we've seen even in taming situations where the lion just gulps up the tamer. The lion. I remember the two guys in Vegas that had those exotic beasts, and how the one tiger, thinking it was protecting him, attacks him and nearly kills him, nearly takes his neck out. Okay, so we think we've got it made when we can tame these things, and then they turn on us one day. Why? Because they're wild creatures. They're not domestic. Can some of them be domesticated? Of course. Wild camels became domesticated. Dogs became domesticated, so on and so forth. Okay, got to move here. This is so cool to me. Will you play with it, with him as with a bird? This is my pet. Or will you put him on a leash for your girls? And I'm like, not even for my boys. Rough and scruff there. Will traders bargain over him? Will they divide him up among the merchants? Any observations there? No. Okay. Can you fill his skin with harpoons? And this is where people get the idea that this is a whale. Because they're going after this thing with harpoons. Well, this is no mere lance. This is harpoon, and this is like huge. Those things are, the points on some of these harpoons are about like that. And of course they're sticking, and I've seen them kill whales. And I was in the Navy, so I remember going through a place in Norway where they brought in the whales and they cut them up, and so whales can be killed, no matter what size. The sperm whale, the right whale, the whale fish, they can all be killed. Okay, so a harpoon is not going to do this. The weapons of your warfare. I'm kind of entering into my Christianese here, are going to have to be a whole lot more powerful, and you're going to have to be a whole lot more skillful if you intend to take down the beast. All right, and we'll get more into that later, because now you're entering into a whole nother way of doing spiritual warfare. But no, you're not going to be able to do it here. Anything else? Yes.
As believers, we all answer no, but the world answers yes on a lot of an ads.
I like the answer yes. I want you to develop the yes. Yes, why? Blah, 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 blah. Extrapolate. Go into a little bit more detail than the typical yes, or the typical Christian way in which we look at these things that are in ancient times. Okay, so yes, absolutely. This is interesting. Can you fill his skin with harpoons or his head with fishing spears? Lay your hands on him. Remember the battle. You will not do it again. So there's been some warfare here.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Where they went after this thing. Mighty men of valor. Anything there? Any observation there? Behold, the hope of a man is false. We are going to go out, we're going to get that thing. We're going to bring him in today. Yeah, I know we've all tried, but we've got a modern harpoon. Okay? He is laid low even at the sight of him. Oh, you said it was big, but I didn't think it was that. Or that. No one is so fierce that he dares to stir him up. Who then is he who can stand before me? You can't even, and God is like minimizing this, this creature that he created, although on earth it's huge. You can't stand against this thing. How do you hope to stand against me? I'm God. I created it, or him. It's interesting, the reference is, it's not it, it's him. I don't know, that's kind of interesting. Who has first given to me, that I should repay him? Whatever is under the whole heaven is mine. This is God talking. I will not keep silence concerning his limbs. So at first I was thinking maybe this was a no, it's a type of, I thought I wrote it down, but I may have. It's a type of dinosaur that swims in the water. It looks like a long-necked,
Loch Ness monster.
but it has, yeah, kind of. It has, this is
Bigger.
yeah, Loch Ness Monster is probably a dessert for this guy. But not claws, but fins. Parasophagus or whatever. Or something like that.
No, that's marsupial, not parasite.
Right. This is, yeah. So, anyway, but it says concerning his limbs. So I'm thinking perhaps the limbs are clawed limbs, but it doesn't talk about his claws. So perhaps they're fishing type, like a seal or or an elephant, sea elephant. Walrus.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm thinking of the picture of the word of the dinosaur you described, but huge creatures similar to maybe the size of a brontosaurus, but in the water.
Yeah.
And yes, having fins, but it being so huge that I think about the reality of when a ship is sinking, if a person is near it, it will be sucked under.
Yeah,
and
because of the
ship
current
goes.
that it creates.
Yeah, and I did some research because I watched a movie last year with my wife. There was an actual incident of which the story Moby Dick was based on. A whale attacked the sailing ship that was after it, and the whale simply rammed the ship and the ship went down, which is not normal for a whale. They try to get away from the ships. But in one case, there was a whale that said, hey, I'm going to come after you.
Yeah, yeah. So that's one of the ways in which tales become sort of like etched in our literature, in our minds. Moby Dick, Herman Melville, the writer. Okay, so I need to speed it up here. Who can strip off its outer garments? Who would come near him with a bridle? Are you going to ride this thing? I don't think so. Who can open the doors of his face? Around his teeth is terror. So these are sharp teeth. His back is made of rows of shields, shut up closely as with a seal, and no air can penetrate this thing. So these are locked together, with such. And just to give you kind of a, so there's on the back, and you might think, well, if it's an alligator, crocodile, which some people believe, you can kill an alligator and a crocodile because they have a armored top, but underneath it's very soft. So you can just turn it over and, jab that thing and kill it. This is different. Okay? One is so near to another that no air can come between them. They are joined one to another. They clasp each other and cannot be separated. His sneezings, this is cool, flash forth light. And his eyes are like the eyelids of the dawn, very bright. Out of his mouth go flaming torches. This is a type of sea dragon. There's fire. This is not just made up. This is not Bugs Bunny or Daffy Duck or what's that guy, Sam, with the mustache?
Yosemite Sam.
Yosemite Sam. This is none of that. This is different. Out of his nostrils comes forth smoke as from a boiling pot and burning rushes. His breath kindles coals. His breath kindles coals, meaning setting them afire. All right? A flame comes forth from his mouth, and his neck abides strength. Terror dances before him. His heart is as stone, hard as lower millstone. Man, it's fixed. You know, millstone, right? which is sort of how they crush grain. There's a lower millstone that is stable. The one on top goes around, and people are pushing it, or animals are pushing it, so forth, and causing it to be, I don't know, what do you call that? Like threshed. Okay, I'm going to stop right here because I know Sheila wanted to make, I thought you had a comment about that.
At the end.
Okay, well, I'm almost there, so. Okay, so clubs are counted as stubble. He laughs at the rattle of javelins. So javelins, swords, spears, what else? Harpoons cannot touch this beast. Folks, I read somewhere that this beast is extinct. This beast is extinct. I don't think so. There are places in the ocean where human beings have been unable to go because the pressure there is so great. This beast, symbolically or metaphorically or real, I think is probably still lurking for a time when God is going to judge it in such a way. So here's where I think the metaphor and the symbol comes in, because I think it's representative of human strength and ability. Remember, right at the end here it says, he sees, the very last line, he sees everything that is high. He is king over all the sons of pride. So it could be, if you think about this, that people were talking about, here comes David. David is Leviathan. Look how he struts his stuff. He's tough as Leviathan. You know, we do that today, don't we? We ascribe certain kinds of things to people and say they're like this, they're like a lion, they're like a sheep, they're like a panda bear, they're like a grizzly, all right? We ascribe these kinds of things to people to indicate the kind of person that they are. That person, it says, and I didn't read it, oh, here it is. We go back up a few lines. When he raises himself up, the mighty are afraid. The Hebrew word there is elim. Elim. The Message, which is not a translation, says that this means angelic beings. When angelic beings see this creature, they are afraid. Possibly because B'nai Elim or B'nai Elohim are talking about spiritual beings, not human beings. But let's just say, for the sake of conversation, that we're not talking about angelic beings. We're just talking about mighty men. Where do we get the mighty men thing in the scriptures over in Genesis? Do you remember where the mighty men begin to show up? Right? The Nephilim, that are sons of the angelic and human connection. They become the mighty men of renown. And we have all kinds of people. Gilgamesh is in there. Who's the other guy that the Bible mentions? He's a city builder. Forgot his name, but he's another mighty man.
Nimrod.
Say again?
Nimrod.
Nimrod. Okay, so all of these mighty men are going after this creature to kill it. But when they see it, they're afraid. So the typical person is afraid. Okay, and God is saying, listen, I created this beast to play in the oceans. There's no indication that this beast has ever been killed by a human being or by a mighty man. So if it's real, it's still there. What is it doing? Sleeping, lying dormant. For what? For such a time as God knows, when judgment will come upon the earth, and God will make amends. Any last words?
Well, I just want you to really, when you and I were having a conversation at home, and you were talking about the end and the revelation and the spiritual beings and what's going to happen, and us understanding that. I want you to, the whole idea of the spirit realm and what we're to do.
Yeah, I don't remember the precise conversation, but
Just
And
a
rather
few
than you
minutes.
becoming afraid, I really want you to see this as, God is the one who created it. God is the one who can take it out. Okay? And that also, when you think about doing spiritual warfare, there is a way to do spiritual warfare where you don't bring a reproach against the name of God or against yourself. There are times when we are going into their realm up there where we don't belong.
That's the point I want you to make.
Where we don't belong. When angelic, remember I've said this all last year, when angelic, spiritual, demonic beings manifest in the earth, they're on our territory. They're in our territory. We have a right to stand against them. But there are certain kinds of spiritual beings, such as, let's take Lucifer or Satan. Michael the archangel is arguing with Satan over the body of Moses. And what does Michael say?
The Lord rebuke you.
The Lord rebuked you. Didn't bring an accusation against him. Could have just gone out there and made warfare, except that there's an equality within their spiritual being or lineage that you and I need to be aware of. Before you start going out there and doing spiritual warfare, you better know what you're up against. And I'll always come back to my dream, and I'll stop right here. I know this. The dream that I had where I'm breaking the back of a little imp, right, that's attacking everybody. I took it, and I took it over my back, and I slung it against the wall. And the minute I did it, a bigger one came and pushed me back into the wall. Now I knew what I was up against. And then what it was going to take in order to defeat this one, not that one, that I had learned how to defeat. I learned how to defeat that lower caste, and now here comes a higher caste. I need to learn how to do that. I need to prepare. And John Paul Jackson says this, when it shows up in your dreams the way it did mine, you can actually go back into your dream, ask the Lord to equip you to go back into your dream and to take authority.
Okay, time to go. There'll be more next week, but look, you're not going to leave here with fear, because I'm not afraid. This doesn't make me afraid. This makes me go, wow, what authority we do have, and what we're looking forward to, and what kind of God we serve. That's how powerful He is. But know your place in the spiritual realm, and ask God to give you wisdom, discernment, and understanding. So to know how to navigate your life with what? Wisdom! Amen? Thank you, Lord, for this day. Thank you for this awareness. Thank you for a new understanding. Thank you for giving us eyes to see and ears to hear. Thank you for giving us courage to face our future, because we know what kind of God we serve. And I thank you for your blessed Holy Spirit that leads us and guides us into all truth. In the mighty name of Jesus. And everybody said, Amen. So next week, more of it.
We'll give you some more next week. It's one translation, the ESV, the English Standard Version, so that we're all on the same page when we're reading about this most interesting creature from the Black Lagoon. I cracked myself up. Entertain yourself, man. When somebody, if you're looking for comedy, just go inside, you know. I've been looking forward to doing this because this is a subject that we really kind of, as believers, don't think is very important. It's we minimize it. We don't think it's real. But I kept reading this over and over again, and I'm like, wait a minute, if this is not real, something else is going on here. Or can we take it in a variety of ways? Can we take Leviathan, and what Leviathan is and symbolizes, can we take it, and how do we apply it today? I mean, that's kind of like where people are. Because I was talking to somebody yesterday, in fact, and I'm like, I'm going to be talking about all of this stuff, you know, divine counsel, angels, demons, next semester at the college, and they're like, so what? Do you know everything there is to know about the Bible? No. Yeah, but it's got to edify, it's got to build up, it's got to strengthen. I'm thinking it's the gospel.
Yes.
You have to apply this. You can't just say, well, if it's not speaking to me, it doesn't mean anything. And this is Leviathan in a sense, that people just don't think much about it, or they think that it's only symbolic or metaphorical. I believe that it's possible for that to happen. But is there a possibility that something else is going on here? So everybody has a handout, right? Okay, so what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do this in a variety of ways to help you. I'm going to play it. This is what I would be putting in my ear when I don't feel like reading. I have my iPad, I have a speaker, I put it in my ear, and I listen to it over and over again from different versions of the Bible. So it's not just the ESV, so the New King James, Amplified, Message. You know, the Message is not really a translation, but it's okay. The NIV, the NLT, all of these versions give us something of interest about this. So I'm going to play it first. You guys read along with it. Then my daughter Jessie is going to come up and she's going to give us the differences between what a myth, a mythology is, and what a fairy tale is. She's going to give you a comparison or a contrast between what those two things are, because this is how we tend to look at this. Oh, it's just mythology. Oh, it's just a fairy tale. Oh, it's not real. Blah, blah, blah. It's in your Bible. And because it's in your Bible, I'm the one that usually goes to the stuff that people generally just leave alone. That's my attraction to the Bible. You know, if you're going to just give me the same old stuff over and over again, you're not going to do a whole lot for me. So I mean to take you places. And remember, we said we're going deep, right?
Yeah.
Well, Leviathan is deep. In fact, I think Leviathan is so deep. It's so deep. Okay, here we go. Here we go.
They know they're following on their paper, right?
You're going to follow along on your paper. This is the ESV.
Front and back.
Oh yeah, front and back. You're right. You guys have one sheet. I have two, so sometimes I get a little confused. Here we go. Read along.
Can you draw out Leviathan with a fishhook, or press down his tongue with a cord? Can you put a rope in his nose, or pierce his jaw with a hook? Will he make many pleas to you? Will he speak to you soft words? Will he make a covenant with you to take him for your servant forever? Will you play with him as with a bird, or will you put him on a leash for your girls? Will traders bargain over him? Will they divide him up among the merchants? Can you fill his skin with harpoons, or his head with fishing spears? Lay your hands on him. Remember the battle. You will not do it again. Behold, the hope of a man is false. He is laid low even at the sight of him. No one is so fierce that he dares to stir him up. Who then is he who can stand before me? Who has first given to me that I should repay him? Whatever is under the whole heaven is mine. I will not keep silence concerning his limbs, or his mighty strength, or his goodly frame. Who can strip off his outer garment? Who would come near him with a bridle? Who can open the doors of his face? Around his teeth is terror. His back is made of rows of shield, shut up closely as with a seal. One is so near to another that no air can come between them. They are joined one to another. They clasp each other and cannot be separated. His sneezings flash forth light, and his eyes are like the eyelids of the dawn. Out of his mouth go flaming torches. Sparks of fire leap forth. Out of his nostrils comes forth smoke as from a boiling pot and burning rushes. His breath kindles coals, and a flame comes forth from his mouth. In his neck abides strength, and terror dances before him. The folds of his flesh stick together, firmly cast on him and immovable. His heart is hard as a stone, hard as the lower millstone. When he raises himself up, the mighty are afraid. At the crashing, they are beside themselves. Though the sword reaches him, it does not avail, nor the spear, the dart, or the javelin. He counts iron as straw, and bronze as rotten wood. The arrow cannot make him flee. For him, sling stones are turned to stubble. Clubs are counted as stubble. He laughs at the rattle of javelins. His underparts are like sharp potsherds. He spreads himself like a threshing sledge on the mire. He makes the deep boil like a pot. He makes the sea like a pot of ointment. Behind him he leaves a shining wake. One would think the deep to be white-haired. On earth there is not his like, a creature without fear. He sees everything that is high. He is king over all the sons of pride.
Wow. I'm sorry for the typos there. I missed a few words in there. This is a pretty scary beast. And we get our mythologies from things like this that somehow show up later on in Christian church history, Christian history. For example, how many of you have ever heard of St. George and the Dragon? Yeah, only a couple of us, really. There are churches like, for example, Episcopal churches that have as their symbol St. George and the Dragon. And what it is, I won't go into that fairy tale because that indeed is a fairy tale. It's a mythology. And it comes out of Romance language or Romance literature of the Middle Ages. But St. George is coming along and he hears about what's going on in this town where the king's daughter is being offered up to a dragon to appease it so that it won't kill the people. So you see images or iconography. An icon is an image that's either on a shield or a flag or a relief painting or something of that nature, showing either him spearing this dragon that has dragon wings, so we know those kinds of dragons fly, which is part of the mythology, and then, or he's on a white horse typically with his right hand, and he's slaying the dragon. Okay, but it was really all to get the hand of the queen, the princess in this case, or to have everybody turn to Christianity. I'll slay the dragon, but you'll have to become Christians, and that's the story behind that. But if you go deeper into the literature, it has early ancient Mesopotamian roots. Okay, so what I'd like Jessica to do now is to kind of give us an understanding of, okay, so what is mythology? And when we talk about mythology, are we always talking about pretend? And what is a fairy tale? All right, so honey, if you could give us some understanding.
Yeah, and there is an allegory, like you said, written about St. George and the Dragon.
So an allegory is...
So each part in an allegory, each character or beast or being represents something else. So, like in this case for St. George and the Dragon, there's an allegory written on it called The Fairy Queen by Edmund Spenser. And the Red Cross Knight is St. George, and Una, his lady, is the princess, and he has to go through all of these different steps in order to get back to Una's homeland in order to slay the dragon. And the dragon is kind of Satan, represents Satan and sin, and when he slays it, kind of frees the whole land.
So an allegory is representation
It's representation.
of something else, like in this case sin or
Yeah.
goodness or chastity or,
And so Una, the woman, is kind of the one true church, the Christian church, and the knight is kind of like a Christ figure. And it's meant to be read that way. So an allegory is meant to be read that way. You're not kind of inferring the symbolism is supposed to be there. It's intentional by the author.
Oh, good, great, thank you.
So, real quick, yeah. So I took my definitions for myth and fairy tale mostly from the Oxford English Dictionary, a dictionary I have to use a lot as an English major. I also took a class in folklore and fairy tales last semester, so
I brought in a little bit of notes from that as well.
Good.
So myth first, I'll do the myth first. And so according to the OED, which is the Oxford English Dictionary, as a noun, it's a traditional story involving supernatural beings or forces which embodies and provides an explanation or justification for something such as the early history of a society, a religious belief or ritual, or a natural phenomenon. So that's a big definition. So an example of that would be, say you have maybe the Native Americans and how they have their mythologies and their legends. Well, an example of a myth might be they're all sitting around the fire and the leader is talking about, let's say, spirit mother, spirit father, and together they birthed the world. So you have supernatural beings, say gods and goddesses or Mother Earth, things like that. So it's supernatural rather than magical. So myths make that distinction. It's supernatural forces, not magical forces. So does that make sense? So you have supernatural forces and they're used to explain how the earth came to be, why we have a sun, why it rains, maybe why we have a moon. So it's those kind of explanations and justifications for a natural phenomenon. A fairy tale, by contrast, also from the Oxford English Dictionary, is any of various short tales having folkloric elements and featuring fantastic or magical events or characters. And it's usually thought of as a genre. They're each thought of as their own separate genre. So a fairy tale comes much later. It comes from the French word, which is conte de fées, which is Contedefees. So it comes much later in the French language, whereas myth comes from ancient Greek and Latin. So fairy tale comes much later, and the difference with a fairy tale is it is a story. It doesn't necessarily have a moral lesson, although it can. And it's not trying to explain anything. It's just, I have, like Cinderella, say we have Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, those types of things. They have the magical element. So they have a fairy godmother, they might have, dwarves, they might have magical fairies. So it's not trying to explain any kind of natural phenomenon. It's a story. It usually will have a moral lesson. It's kind of intended to teach children what they should and shouldn't do. Whereas a myth can date all the way back to a society's beginnings. Fairy tales don't do that. And they're much more intended for children. So I don't know if you kind of wanted me to explain. There is a connection between them.
Okay, show the connection then.
Okay, so there is something, it's not necessarily a highly credible theory, but there is a theory, it's called the broken shards theory. You want me to write that down?
Broken shards?
Broken
Yes,
shards
please.
theory, which,
Right there.
where?
Oh, there you go. Okay. Broken shards theory. Yeah. Can you guys read this? Right there.
That one, it's not, like I said, it's not necessarily highly credible. A lot of theorists and critics, don't believe in this, but some do, which is why I'm bringing it up. And basically what it's saying is you have a myth. Let's say we have a myth. That would be like an intact vase. So say this is a vase, just pretend, okay? This is a vase, it's the myth. The whole thing, the intact vase is the myth, okay? Let's say I drop the marker, the myth breaks, or the vase breaks, okay? Fairy tales are all the little shards of glass from the myth. So the problem with this, which is why it's not necessarily highly credible, is that you're kind of favoring the myth genre over the fairy tale genre when they're each supposed to do different things. They're not one's not supposed to be thought of higher than the other one, which in this case you're favoring the myth, okay, instead of the fairy tale. So they're each, though they have a connection, they have a little bit of a connection in some critics' minds, they're not necessarily connected. So they are intended to be thought of as their own separate genres. They're both intended to do different things. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Very good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so now what I'd like you to do I want you to read it again, okay? And read it at your own speed. And then I want you to the side, right? That's why I left that side open. I want you to make observations. What stands out to you? What do you think is interesting about this chapter? Okay? The context in which this fits is that Job and his friends have been talking a lot. And we know a lot about what Job said in the early part of the chapter about fearing that which has come up. That which I feared the most has come upon me. And we sort of leave it there. Okay? And then we move on to other things because it fits our understanding of why things happen to people. Right? So that's sort of how we generally think of Job. And of course his friends, there's a little explanation given to what his friends are doing and why they're doing it. And now, God has been listening to all of this stuff going on, and finally God says, okay, it's now my turn. You guys have been saying things, and it's not exactly true. Okay? So I'm going to tell you what it's really about. And this answers the question, and it's going to create more questions, of why God waited so long to put forth his story. History, right? His story. Because I'm thinking, Lord, you could have written this way early, but there were no people. God's people were not really truly in existence at this time. Or God was countering something else that we don't have time to really look at here, which is the state of the world at this time. Or it was just within God's timing. I'm going to write now, and I'm going to counter everything that has gone before, which are really just nothing more than fairy tales, half-truths, non-truths. This is the way it is. You say that Baal did this, I did this. You say that El did that, that's me. And so on and so forth. So God is showing up as the one who did it all. Okay? And now he's saying, okay, Job, let's see. Let's see if you can do what I've done. And if you can't undo this, the greatest beast on the planet, how are you hoping to come against me? How are you hoping to even understand? Okay, so that's kind of what's going on here. That's sort of the background story. There's more to it. I'm just being brief here. So read it again. Okay, take, a minute and a half. Read it again and make some notations about what you believe is going on here or whatever stands out to you, and let's then compare our notes. Okay, let's do that. Go ahead.